How's it going, everybody? It's Stas here. Welcome back to another video. So in today's video, we're going to be doing an overall market update, taking a look at the Dow Jones, the S&P 500, and the NASDAQ. We're also going to be doing a trading update, talking about what I personally did today in the stock market, as well as some stocks and ETFs that I'm watching and looking to trade right now, heading into the month of February in 2020. And I also want to give you all my honest opinion on whether or not I think the stock market in general has some more downside here. We all know the coronavirus is putting a lot of pressure on the market, especially as it's spreading. The total amount of people infected is spreading. Deaths are really adding up, and this is putting, again, a lot of pressure on the market, a lot of pressure on global businesses, and we'll talk about in this video in a couple of minutes how many businesses are being affected, which businesses in particular. And guys, think about it. If these businesses are stalled for a couple of weeks, depending on them trying to contain this virus, how long it takes them to contain this virus, this could affect the earnings of these companies and thus affect, again, the economy and thus affect the stock market. So there's definitely some potential downside risk here in the short term, and I want to talk about that again in this video. But before we do, all I ask from you is, if you guys like the video, find value in it, simply go down below for me and hit that like button, and consider subscribing to the channel if you want to see further content from me. And if you guys actually want 2 free stocks from Webull, I have an affiliate link linked down below in the description box, where if you use that link, you put in $100, you actually get $1,400 and 2 free stocks that are valued up to $1,400, which is pretty awesome. So go check out that link again down below in the description box. And now let's get into it, starting off here with the S&P 500, which the big move, guys, came close to the after hours and close to the end of the market and heading into the after hours session. We can see here $10 again was the closing price, up 0.31%. But if we go to that S&P future, we can see after hours, we got a massive move here. And again, heading into the close of the market, because Amazon, we'll talk about this in a couple of minutes, but might as well take a look at it very quickly now. Amazon, guys, they reported earnings and they crushed earnings, and the stock went from $18.70 all the way up to $21.30, which is insanity. And again, we'll talk about those numbers here in a couple of minutes, but this is most likely dragging up, the entire market at this point. So back to the S&P 500 on the 4-hour chart. Like I mentioned a couple weeks ago, actually, I could see a pull down on the S&P, maybe down to that 180 SMA. And I'm sure many of you guys remember when I said this, and I'm not saying I called this out or anything. Ooh, I have a crystal ball, but I'm saying that, in the past, we've seen 3 to 5% corrections. And in this case, as overextended as we were, a 3 to 5% correction, from this general area, where would it put it, guys? Well, it would put the S&P right on top of that 180 SMA on the 4-hour chart. And you guys can see it for yourselves, right? Take a look at the screen. From this gold line up to that peak, it is around a 5% sell-off, which is nothing to panic about. That is very healthy, and I think the market needs that now with how crazily it's just gone up every single day, it seems like, right? So now let's talk about very quickly. I have a list of businesses here on my phone that you guys are going to be, wowed by how much this coronavirus is really affecting everything here, especially in China, right? And right now, quick little update. Last time I checked, there's about 7,900 people infected with a total of 170 deaths. And I know many people argue China is not really telling us how many people have died, how many people have been infected. I believe from my research, some underground numbers were, maybe like 15, I forget, honestly, but a lot higher than what they're actually reporting here. And another thing is the World Health Organization, this was about an hour or two ago, declared the coronavirus outbreak a global public health emergency, which really just kicks in, again, the seriousness of this, and it really could spread to a lot of other places. We all know, in the epicenter, which is in Wuhan, China, 5 million people got out of there. 5 million people were not contained. That means those 5 million people, they might have gotten to, maybe Europe, maybe the United States, Australia, and we've seen cases in all of those places so far, especially in Europe. We've seen in France, we've seen Cambodia, we've seen Canada, Australia, Sri Lanka. These are just off the top of my head, right? This thing is getting around. So for me, yeah, I'm worrying about this in the short term, and especially with these businesses closing. Some of these businesses are the Royal Caribbean Cruise, and excuse me, not closing like they're not operating, but many of them actually are closing some of their locations that are obviously not operating, but they still have some up and going. So let's talk about that. Royal Caribbean Cruises, again, Starbucks, they actually closed more than half of their locations, which their locations in China are roughly 4,300 locations, so that's a pretty big deal. Yum China Holdings, they operate KFC, Pizza Hut, and Taco Bell. They've been closing some operation. McDonald's, several hundred locations have closed, guys. Around 3,000 remain open. So let's say they have 4,000 stores, or let's say they have like 3,700 stores, 700 closed. That's still a nice chunk. That's around what, 25-30% of your stores are closing. Yeah, that's not too great there. Apple has reduced store opening hours in China, so that's affecting Apple there. Mondelez International, maker of Oreos and Cadbury chocolate, expects lower sales. Airlines, American Airlines, British Airways, Boeing, hotels, Hilton Worldwide, Marriott International, McCormick and Company, the spice maker. They shut down 3 plants in China, which that's how they do their business in China, obviously, so that's going to affect them. Budweiser Brewer, Anheuser-Busch InBev SA closed its Wuhan brewery. They had a brewery in Wuhan. So this is affecting many different industries, many different sectors in the economy, and yes, it's going to dampen their earnings if, again, this virus does not get contained in a timely fashion, which at this point, it seems like it's not. I read an article earlier today that the death toll and the number of people infected has risen 29% literally from yesterday. So imagine that compounding over and over. That's going to be an insane amount of people infected here, which, yes, I think could end up pushing the market down here, but that does not mean it's necessarily going to do that. And honestly, for me, I'm being a bit more cash heavy at this point, to be completely honest with you guys, due to the downside risk that I'm seeing here. I don't want to get caught really in any big swing positions, and then this market drops, and then I have no cash, right? So I just think having cash in moments like this when there's fear, it's definitely a really wise thing, especially if you're trading out there. And honestly, even if you're investing and you want to add some more to your long-term positions, if you expect the markets in general to drop, which again, right now, there's a lot of risk for that. So the Dow Jones today up 124 points at the close, up 0.43%. And overall, it seems like we actually held 28,700 today, which was the support that I was watching. And we're breaking out of that EMA here on the 4-hour chart, which is a good sign. Now, for me, guys, what I'm watching on the Dow, I'm watching 28,900, which is really right where it's at right now. If it breaks that level, breaks that 50 SMA, that's going to be a point where, yeah, technically speaking, the Dow could be maybe testing an all-time high again. But with, again, the coronavirus, sometimes fears like this, a lot of the times, they just trump technicals completely, right? The technicals just go out of the window, and if it gets worse, technicals will go out of the window. Trust me on that, guys. So the Nasdaq today, it's currently up $6 after 6 p.m. So in the last 36 minutes, this thing is up $6. But at the end of the day today, it was up $23, up 0.26%, and the bulk of the move again came after hours, right towards the close of the market after hours, as Amazon just completely just killed their earnings and went up 10%, 10 plus percent after they did report. So overall, guys, that is kind of what's going on here with the market heading into tomorrow. We might see a green day, honestly, with everything going on here, with especially Amazon. But again, it's the fear of the coronavirus. It's putting a damper. So I'm not sure if it's going to last, which is why. That's really why I'm heavy cash, guys, to be completely honest, because sure, we can maybe rally a little bit tomorrow, but then boom, a bad thing comes out, bad piece of news, more people infected, more than expected that are infected. Yes, that did rhyme. This could end up just killing the rally all in all, and that's when having cash will be very, very beneficial. So let me know in the comments, what are your thoughts on the markets? Now, let's talk about what I did, and you guys probably got kind of a sense of what I did today. I didn't do too much because, again, I'm sitting on cash. I did, however, buy a little bit of Facebook this morning pre-market in the low 207s. If we go on the one-day chart, we can see. Actually, let's pull up the 5-day 5 minutes. So yesterday, Facebook reported earnings after hours. They beat earnings, but they didn't beat by too wide of a margin, and the growth is not as crazy as it used to be, which is why some of these investors and traders kind of got spooked out of the stock. I'm mostly thinking it's investors here, right? They got spooked out of the stock. Again, not a crazy beat. Nonetheless, it was a beat. But for me, guys, I think it was a bit of an overreaction, to be honest, and I want to capitalize on that, and it seems like my buy at 207 this morning, a little bit above 207, I think it was like 207.20, it seems like that was a good idea, because we can see here, after hours, it closed at about 209.53. It seems like we are trying to fill that gap heading into tomorrow, and that gap being the big gap filled after the drop in earnings, and honestly, the first resistance I'm seeing for it to test, looking for it to test, that is going to be around 213. So for me right now, I'm in Facebook a little bit at 207. Will I add more money? I'm planning on it, but we just have to see. I personally want to see what the markets do tomorrow. And you guys see, I still have some exposure to the long side, but I'm hedging my downside with cash here so I can buy more stocks if the market goes down if I want to, right? So I actually took a little bit of a loss here on TQQQ. You guys know I bought this either 2 days ago. Recently, I bought a little bit at around 96, 97 bucks. And with the market selling off today aggressively, we were getting back down to the 95s on TQQQ. I figured, let me just take a little loss here to cut my long exposure to the market, again, just in case these markets do end up falling. And yeah, it was one of those where I sold right before the massive push. If I were to just hold after hours, I would have made about like a couple percentage points on my position, but it's okay. I lost a little bit of money. Nothing crazy at all, guys. It was really a small little loss on TQQQ, but it wasn't a loss nonetheless. So overall, guys, that is pretty much it. That's really what I did in my accounts today. I'm holding Uber still. I'm holding Netflix, but those are just smaller positions at this point. No crazy big swing positions for me. Again, just mostly sitting in cash. Just to really mitigate risk. And I'd love to know what you guys have to think about that down below and what you are actually doing. Are you holding cash? Do you see these markets bouncing up? Are you holding Amazon? Which, if you are, congratulations. I own Amazon in some of my long-term accounts. Great day to be an Amazon holder. And now that we're on Amazon, let's talk about Amazon. So today, they reported earnings, guys. Q4 earnings of $6.47 per share. versus $4.03 per share expected. So they absolutely destroyed EPS, and their revenue came in at $87.4 billion versus $86.02 billion. And last month, guys, Amazon came out and said it had its best holiday shopping season in its history, with billions of orders received globally. And that's something to say because, Target was doing terrible. We saw Target take a hit in its stock because of, actually, let me pull up Amazon. I didn't even pull it up for you guys. You can see here, Amazon's killing it after hours. But Target, they actually said they saw a 1% increase in their holiday sales, and that disappointed the stock. So a lot of these massive retailers, guys, they're struggling. At least Target is in terms of holiday sales. But on the flip side, Amazon is crushing it, and their basic EPS and revenue numbers, which I look for any company, they're doing quite well. In this video, not going to dive too deep into their earnings, but I'm going to break it down for you guys on a technical basis here. Kind of some thoughts, right? And with the pop-up in the stock price here after hours, it seems like Amazon has hit an all-time high, which it's about time, guys, because the last time this thing did hit an all-time high, it was back in 2018, actually in September. So it's gone from 2050 down to about 1300, now all the way back up to 2100 here-ish, 2100-ish after market hours with the earnings report. So for me, Amazon, I don't know what it's going to do at this point. I'd like to see it maybe find a sweet spot, maybe some sort of support at around 2050. I think that's very possible due to that being, roughly a resistance from this past July. Again, that all-time high from back in September 2018. That could be where it settles down here. We can see it after hours. Again, it hit a high of around 2133.74, which is that all-time high, and now it's pulling down to about 2060. So just keep an eye on it at around 2060, 2050, and what it does tomorrow in tomorrow's session. That's really what I'm going to be watching here with Amazon. But either way, guys, it's pulling up this market here due to it being a behemoth of a company. So now let's talk about some other stocks and some ETFs here that I do have on my phone that I want to share with you guys. So Square, that is one that I traded a couple of days ago. Now I'm interested in a possible re-entry point on this bounce from $75, up to about $78. That's that $3 range that I'm looking to potentially capitalize on. And Square is one of those companies that's reporting earnings, but the earnings are actually a bit further out. They're actually about a month from now, and their EPS, mind you guys, this is a smaller company compared to the ones we usually talk about here on this channel, but the EPS is supposed to be 21 cents with revenue of $593.07 million. So they're doing about $590 million a quarter. At least that's what they're expected to do here. And yeah, just figured to throw that out if you guys are interested in their upcoming earnings. But again, on a technical basis, $75. I like the way it held that today, to be honest, guys, and the fact that we closed above it. So for tomorrow, maybe a break above yesterday's resistance could be an entry point. I'm thinking maybe $76.50 to about $77. That could be where, it could be a wise idea, at least in my opinion, to scale in. That might be what I do, right? That might be something that I'm looking for here. So Uber stock is another one that I want to just talk to you guys about very quickly because they're actually reporting earnings here in the short term. Their EPS estimate is roughly 68 cents in the red, so they're expected to lose 68 cents per share with revenue coming in at $4.06 billion. And I think at this point, guys, before earnings, that is, I think Uber could be setting up for a nice opportunity. It's kind of been cooling off here from around $38 down to about $36, but with today's price action, we confirmed a hold above $36 as well as above that 50 SMA on this 4-hour chart. So that is a really good sign, in my opinion. And if we go on this hourly chart, we can see the hold on that 180 SMA and again $36. So ultimately, I'd like to see a break out of this little downtrend that we are seeing from this little cool-off period over the past 5 to 7 trading days, and I think anything in the 37 range could be an entry on Uber. So that's kind of some thoughts there. PayPal is another stock that filled the gap, believe it or not, from yesterday's poor earnings performance. They dropped down to 112 all the way back to 116. So for me, at this point, this move is pretty much too late, I think. FOMO might be a problem here with PayPal. Yesterday, after hours, would have been a perfect time to get in, but now, battling 117 again, which is a rough spot here for PayPal, I'd be a bit careful with it until it gets back at least into the 120s, and from there, maybe we could hit fresh highs, but at this point, honestly, guys, I see some more opportunities out there and some other names like, Netflix, to name a few, even NEO, although NEO is a lot more speculative, right? And speaking of NEO successfully held $4 today, although it did have a rough day, down 4.45%, and honestly, this is mostly because of the coronavirus. Let's be honest. I might be wrong. I didn't see anything crazy come out about NEO today, but a lot of these Chinese stocks in general are under pressure, right? Some other ones are, LK. This is Luckin Coffee. This was down 3.8%. Baba today was down 1.6%. JD.com today was down 1.6% as well. Pretty much identical to Baba, which is insane. But either way, these Chinese stocks, they're getting slaughtered. So NEO, it's going to get pushed into that mix as well, and it's going to get hit, guys. And let's say this market does end up selling off, like I said, gold is definitely one that it's just worth watching, because like I've mentioned on this channel, like many of you guys already know, this is a hedge against the stock market, the economy, the dollar, and it's viewed as real currency. Back in the day, the US dollar used to be backed by gold, and now it's not anymore, which is why the Fed could just print as much money as they want. But that's a whole different topic for a whole different video. But gold, seriously, guys, it's worth watching. Although it was down $10 today, or it's down now $10, it's just worth watching if there's pressure in this market. And now I think there will be pressure, as we've seen, or there's a good chance there could be pressure, as we see in the price of gold, since it's been rising over the past couple of days. And a couple ETFs maybe you can trade based on gold. JNUG is a 3x leveraged ETF. This one's a bit more volatile due to it being leveraged. GDX is not leveraged, but it's one that you could trade based upon gold. Excuse me, guys. GLD is another one. This is a gold trust. I personally own this in some of my long-term accounts just to have some exposure of gold. And honestly, I'm a believer of having exposure to gold. In my M1 Finance portfolio, I currently have about 4 to 5% exposure. Not a crazy amount, but it's still in there as a hedge, and I just think it's a good idea. You can't just be all equities, in my opinion. Having some equities, if you're young, is good. Having some bonds is a good idea, let's say, and having gold. It's just good to have some balance there. So last one is going to be silver, guys, /SI. Silver did quite well. I think it was the other day, but either way, silver today down 17 cents, down 1%. And there's one in particular that I'm watching here that goes up whenever silver goes up, and that is USLV. This is an ETN that trades based upon silver. And mind you, this is very volatile, very risky. This is on the tier of UGAS, DGAS. It's kind of like that. It's an ETN. It's 3x leverage. And it decays. It has a lot of risk involved with it. But it does well whenever silver does well, right? And it's a possibility if these markets again sell off, silver could be, along with gold, a viable option because these are deemed as hard assets, real money by a lot of people out there. Not that the dollar is real money, but you guys know what I mean from what perspective I'm coming from, right? So that's really it for this video. Don't want to make it too long, but I feel like we covered everything. Coronavirus, it's spreading. The World Health Organization has issued it an emergency. 170 deaths. China, they're probably lying. Let's be honest. There may be more deaths than that, but that's what's reported as of now. And many, many businesses, guys, a lot of businesses are being affected right now, real time. Operations are being closed, slowing down operations. With Apple, they're closing their hours for a lot of the day. You know, it's going to affect something, whether it's earnings, short term, the stock market, it's going to affect something, and especially the longer it's lasting like this, it's going to affect even more, especially the Chinese GDP, which you guys should check that out, do more research on that, how it's affecting the economy in general there. It's pretty interesting stuff. So I'll catch you all in the next video. If you guys enjoyed this video, I did my outro without saying this first. If you guys enjoyed the video, hit that like button, consider subscribing to the channel if you want to see further content from me. If you want to be further connected with the Strive Smart community, I actually have 2 free links for you down below, the Discord group chat as well as the Facebook group. And another thing down below is your 2 free stocks. Don't forget to get those from Webull with a deposit of $100. You get 2 free stocks valued up to $1,400. So that's down below in the description, as well as all the other good stuff. I'll catch you all in the next video. Thanks again for watching. As always, the support has been great. Peace out.